So in a previous video, I showed you how to create this simple avatar selection and then how to use the avatar in multiple slides. So now I want to show you if, let's say the user wants to change their avatar on a whim, no matter what slide they're on. So let's move this avatar to make room for some buttons. And then, even though I really don't like the existing buttons, let's just use them anyway. Use a simple arrow. Okay, so we've got this right button. And let's go ahead and add a trigger. What happens is, when they click this button, we're going to adjust variable avatar. We're going to add 1 when user clicks button 1. Simple enough. The problem is right now the state of the avatar only changes when the timeline starts. So once the timeline has started, if you adjust this variable, nothing will happen. So what we need to do is create a new trigger, and I'm just going to copy this one. Oops, so we make sure the button is not selected. And we're going to say change state of picture 1 to normal when variable changes avatar. And then we can just copy that and paste it a few more times, and then of course line up state 2 with avatar variable 2, state 3 with value 3, 4, and 4. So now as soon as this variable changes, which it will when you click that button, it'll actually change the avatar. So let's go ahead and test this slide to see if it works. And there you go. But as soon as we get above 4, nothing happens. So what we need to do is say, well, let's adjust the variable avatar equals 0 when user clicks button 1. So what we need to do is say, I want to add 1 to avatar as long as our avatar variable is less than, and this always confuses me whether it's 4 or 5. I really just experiment because we only have 4 values, and then of course otherwise make it 0 if avatar is greater than or equal to 5. So let's see if that works. Basically what we want to do is add 1 until we run out of avatars, basically, which is at number 4. And in fact, while we're at it, let's insert a reference to avatar so we can see what's happening to that variable as we're playing around with this. So our variable 0, so we don't have an avatar, but when we click, we add 1, we got an avatar. 2, 3, 4, and it goes back to 0, 1. Okay, so we actually don't want it to go back to 0, we want it to go back to 1. So that button works. Now let's just duplicate it. Control D, and then go to our button tools and make it the other direction. And with this button, we're going to subtract 1 if avatar, let's see, so we subtract 1, it goes down to 1, and we want to make sure it is greater than 0. Okay, and then we'll set it equal to 5 if they click subtract, if avatar is less than or equal to 0. Let's see if that works. We might have to adjust those values a little bit. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 5, 4. Okay, so I don't want it to go up to 5, I want it to go up to 4. Four, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so those buttons work. That's how you let the user select their own avatar whenever they want. And you don't have to use these buttons. You could put some buttons up in your player. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. Let's talk about another way you can assign an avatar. And that is by using a question bank. So we've got question bank 1, that's automatic. We're going to create a new survey question and make it a blank layout. Let's get rid of our next and previous buttons. Open it up and say adjust variable avatar, make it 1 when timeline starts. You also want to jump to next slide when timeline starts. So basically, as soon as this slide starts, it changes that variable to 1 and jumps to the next slide. And they have to be in that order, because if you put jump to the next slide first, it'll do that and never change that variable. So you gotta switch it to 1, jump to next slide, Control D on that to duplicate it, and for the second one, set avatar equal to 2. And then we've got 3 and 4. So this is a question bank. What we need to do is randomly draw from one of these question banks. Let's just duplicate this slide, only between the slides, what's going to happen is it's going to randomly draw from bank 1 question. And it'll randomly draw, let's say, number 3, and what it does is adjust the variable to 3 and then jumps to the next slide. And so it's basically randomly assigning an avatar. So let's test this whole thing to show you how it works. So remember in the last video we made this avatar select. Let's choose her. And there she is. We can switch it up and click next, and it randomly creates a new avatar. So the reason you would want to have both, and you'd actually switch up the order, what you would want to do is draw from the question bank first of all and randomly assign an avatar, because when you're in an e-learning situation you want to get them through as quickly as possible, so you don't want to waste time selecting avatars. So you put the draw from question bank at the very beginning, it randomly assigns them an avatar, and then at a certain given point you let them change it with the arrows.